Welcome back. After another horrific day of gun violence in this country, it's hard not to focus on all the problems that are plaguing us. But 2 weeks after a shooting shook our own community, we can't lose sight of the helpers. Kent Erdahl sat down with 3 ER doctors who helped Children's Minnesota navigate the single worst shooting call they've ever received.
Children's Minnesota ER staff know what to do when hope is in short supply.
This is where our most critically ill children, patients come.
As a kids' level 1 trauma center, they train for the unthinkable.
The tiniest of masks up to an adult-sized mask, because that's what we do here.
But no amount of equipment or training could quite prepare them for the level of trauma that came through their doors 2 weeks ago.
It just hits very differently.
Dr. Rachel Weigert says they had 5 minutes to prepare for the arrival of 5 young gunshot victims from Annunciation Church.
As a mom and a physician and a gun violence prevention researcher, I was like, whoa, it's a nightmare. I mean, it's the thing that we hope will never happen.
But the feeling didn't last long.
You just have to snap into gear.
Quickly issuing a level 1 trauma call to staff.
There were at least 50 between these 2 bays and then the other 2 rooms that we have out there.
And it wasn't just staff at the hospital who showed up.
I got a text message from Val Whitcomb, who was one of our colleagues, that she was at home and she heard like 30 gunshots and there's a school nearby. And I knew that you guys were going to be busy because we train for this. We know that everyone's mobilizing. So I told my husband to get in the car and drive me down. And I, on the way down, was communicating to the ER staff.
One of Dr. Jan Argentari's first calls was to Dr. Tom Skrypak.
I live in the neighborhood.
Though his proximity to the scene left him with an agonizing question.
Do I go towards or do I go into work? I felt like I would be most useful going into work to help out there. It's a school I know many kids at. I know many families there. So driving in, I was emotional because I was hoping that I wasn't going to see anyone I knew.
Thankfully, that emotion eased as they got to work.
It's not hysterical in these situations. It's measured.
First thing I saw was the amount of people that showed up. Surgeons, anesthesiologists, the ER staff. We had child life specialists.
Remarkably, they also had extra help thanks to a training that happened to be taking place in one of those trauma bays.
So we actually had additional 9 nurses, trauma nurses on site, even before the kids came.
And it was one of several moving moments that kept all 3 of these parents going.
The amount of humanity that showed up was impressive.
I had families from Annunciation calling me and texting me to make sure I was okay. That's impressive to me too, that they are thinking about how we're doing. It's unbelievable to me.
I am in awe of these children. Pull shrapnel out of a girl's arm and her leg. And she told me, I probably got that when I laid down on the first graders. And I had been able to control my emotions until then, but then I just absolutely lost it. I was like, what are we doing? What are we doing as a society? They didn't do anything wrong. They were just at school. I can't believe how fast they responded, and the kids said, oh, I know what I'm supposed to do because they practice this. It's not a tornado. It's not a fire. This is preventable, and we're letting it happen.
Despite her frustration, Dr. Weigert refuses to give up hope, saying she plans to go to the state capitol to advocate for change.
Well, I wish that we could just look at this as a safety issue. What are safety protections we have around our cars? If we can at least agree on the secure storage aspect, I think that's a great first step. Nothing can change if we give up. You have to keep going. You have to keep the hope alive.
That's Kent Erdahl reporting there. In addition to the 5 young gunshot victims who came in on ambulances during that first wave, 2 others also came in later that morning. In the 2 weeks since, all those patients have gone home, including Lydia Kaiser, who was among those kids who helped shield her classmates. Her parents sent us a message writing, quote, Tuesday was Lydia's 13th birthday. Our family was grateful to have her home for this big day. Lydia is in good spirits and is recovering both physically and emotionally. Thanks to so many, the surgeons who removed the bullet fragments and operated on her brain, to the staff in the emergency department and intensive care unit. We were blessed to be in their care. end quote. Well, if you've been downtown Minneapolis this week, chances are you're seeing some red down there, partially because Target held its annual meeting, but also because the company is making employees come back to the office. Heidi Wigdahl is here with a closer look at the change.
In downtown Minneapolis, it's easy to spot a sea of red. This influx of Target workers is temporary due to the company's annual meeting. But even after, Target's commercial team is now back downtown at least 3 times a week.
Makes a big difference, especially on this end of Nicollet Mall.
Adam Dunnick, president and CEO of the Minneapolis Downtown Council, says their most recent data from before Labor Day shows the number of workers downtown at around 150,000. That's about 70% when compared to pre-pandemic levels of around 220,000 workers.
12 of our top 15 employers have some in-office policy. Most of them are 3 days, a few of them are 4. Unfortunately, none of them have a 5-day in-office policy, but generally there's been a significant amount of movement in the last year or two of more people being in the office, which is a good sign. There was this dynamic where if a lot of employers had flexibility in their schedule, then other employers felt like they had to also offer that flexibility because workers could just say, oh, if you're not going to give me flexible time, I'll go somewhere else. Well, that dynamic has turned quite a bit in the last year or two, and I'd say it's partially the jobs numbers. It's also partially the federal government and more government entities having an in-office policy.
We're in a very different market now. If you think about this job market, it's frozen. So people who have jobs don't want to leave, and companies are very reluctant to hire.
Chris Farrell, senior economics contributor to Marketplace and Minnesota Public Radio, says from the pandemic till now, we've seen a change in the power structure. But even with employers mandating a return to the office.
What is remarkable is think about before 2019. It would have been radical if a company like Target or Ameriprise said to employees, you only have to come to the office 3 days a week. You only have to come to the office 4 days a week. So it still is a fundamental shift.
And Chris believes hybrid is here to stay.
Companies have also learned that we want to do a mix. The new technology is there. You can't put that genie back in the bottle. It's there. But there are benefits in value to having face-to-face interaction. So this is why the hybrid model has become popular.
Chris says even with more workers returning to the office, companies may be thinking about renting out spaces that aren't being used to entrepreneurs and small businesses to help cover those costs. Stick with us. We got more news and weather coming up after the break.